a giraffe in the background.
I'm happy.
Okay. I'm happy too. Hi everybody, I'm Naha, and I'm so excited to share a very, very special guest that I have here today, and this is Marisa.
Hi.
And you got a little bit of an introduction to her already because she is the creator of the Circo Tarot. I'm saying it right, Circo, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good, because I thought like circus.
Yeah, Circo Tarot.
So, if you guys remember, and I will link that video, and you can watch it here, and that was not the first tarot that you created, right?
No, that is the first deck I've ever created. It was the 5th edition.
Oh, yeah. Many editions.
Yeah.
And is that one still available?
I'm gonna probably reprint it before February, definitely, just because I love that deck.
It's so good.
It's my baby.
One of the things that I love about artistic decks, and you were talking about liking to do small runs, is that then when you discover other people that also use that deck, like if I'm looking on Instagram and see other people that have that, you feel like you have this little connection with
exactly.
the other people that have it,
yeah.
you know? Because it's not something that just everybody can get their hands on. So, well, today I get to meet you in person. This is so exciting. And also, she brought me a gift. I wonder what it could possibly be. This is Persephone.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
A very, very special deck. I'm so excited. We're going to look at it together. We're going to talk about it. So, and this is, what, the second run of this deck?
Yes. So the first edition was just black and white. This edition is tricolor, so it's red, white.
Oh, it was.
Yeah.
I wore red, black, and white. Can you guys see specifically for you today?
I'm more like Circo Tarot.
You are?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. So exciting. So I didn't realize that. The first one was just black and white.
Yeah.
And then black, white, and red is the theme for this, for Persephone. You had a friend that suggested that?
Yeah, I had a friend that suggested it. And
to add red.
Yeah, her name is Asali Earthwork. If you want to check her out on Instagram, she's amazing.
I just talked about this when I opened the Barbara Walker Tarot. Do you know that one?
I'm not familiar.
It's like an 80s deck, but she talks about the colors of black, white, and red, which it's not just those colors in the deck, but that's a very much a theme of it, and that those are the 3 colors of the goddess. So, did you know that?
Unintentional work.
I know. Well, some
intention. I guess was coming through.
Yeah, you knew somewhere in your soul DNA. You knew. So it comes with a little bag and stones and everything. It's like ready to go. How cute.
Yeah. So I hand dye all my bags and I print them.
Well, I remember from when I asked you the interview questions, you said you had a background in textiles.
Yeah.
So.
And it also comes with a patch.
Oh my god. Yeah. I love it. And then, okay, so the pomegranate, and what's the vessel?
I don't know. I just feel like vessels are really powerful, and they're so common, and like, you know, all the art that I love is on vessels, pottery especially. So like Greek vessels, the art style that really influenced Persephone, and I was just really, attached to that idea.
And Persephone is Greek, right?
Yeah. Prosperina if you're like the Roman myth.
Ah.
But, yeah.
I didn't know that.
I had gotten a lot of criticism actually on the first run of the deck, and I actually really appreciated that because it helped me really, understand like what people were looking for, and also like why things didn't execute the first run so well. I think that's really important.
Do you mean critique or criticism?
Both.
Okay.
Both. Because sometimes like, I don't know, you have to listen to all the arguments, and then then I kind of shuffle in my brain which matters, which doesn't, and the artwork of this was a lot of work for me, and I felt like I didn't do that much of justice by just keeping it black and white, and by introducing red, it just gave it more of that pop.
But can we talk about the fact that this run has already sold out?
It's already sold out.
So I guess you guys, if you want to get this deck, you're going to have to manifest it. And if you wish it to be, and if it's meant to be, you'll get one.
And if not, if you're in Minneapolis, the Future is one of my stockists, and they're really awesome.
That's one thing that I found with some people that sell their decks themselves, that sometimes you can't buy. I think that was the case for Circo. You couldn't buy it on your website, but you could still find it on some of the other online places.
Yeah, and they're really awesome. Also, Circle of Stitches in Salem, Massachusetts.
Okay, what was the other one you mentioned in Minneapolis?
The Future.
The Future.
Yeah, they're really cool. And they have some Persephone decks. So if you're in that area and you want one.
And what about those overseas? What about Two Sides?
Two Sides?
Red?
Not this moment.
No?
But hopefully soon.
Icarus is first. He is right here, the Fool. So when you added the red, were you just able to go in and add it, or did you have to redraw?
Thankfully I had all the raw files and I just recolored everything.
Oh, so you were able to do that.
Yeah.
I love this. I saw this one in the photos. I love the feet.
Oh, thank you. I gave him a little nail polish.
Magical Mercury. And then this is her, right?
Oh, yeah.
Persephone. So, I am fascinated with the Persephone myth because it really is very congruent with what all of the important mythologies are in Hermetics and also in all of the kinds of magic that I'm interested in, which is that cycle of birth, death, and then rebirth or renewal, which this is totally represents, right? Yeah. So do you want to share a little bit about, I know sort of the general thing of Persephone. Her mother was Demeter, right? Yeah. And I think, isn't she next? Yeah. Demeter, she's the empress.
Yes.
Which makes so much sense. So Demeter, she's the goddess of agriculture, right?
She's the harvest goddess, mother to Persephone. Probably definitely a very, this is my child. Like she's very much attached to her daughter. So the whole process of her daughter being gone for so long is the reason why we have winter and fall.
So Persephone was taken.
She was taken, yes.
And who was she taken by?
She was taken by Hades,
right?
Who is her husband.
So King of the Underworld had an eye for Persephone and was very much I think spent some time trying to maybe woo her, but eventually just...
Well, he was like, okay, I need to get her, and the only way I'm going to get her is by distracting the nymphs that are protecting her. And then, having a beautiful flower, and then she was so enchanted by the beautiful flower, just snapped her away.
Oh, really? So I didn't know that part of the story.
Yeah, so that happened. But the weird thing I think about this myth, unlike other Greek myths, is that he really went above and beyond to woo her, even though he did it in there's a lot of deception there.
Even though ultimately he kidnapped her.
He kidnapped her.
And so he took her to the underworld and
built her a beautiful garden, treated her like an equal, gave her respect. This is really unheard of in Greek mythology, where the wife is an equal now.
Wow.
She is a complete equal to her husband. And giving her that freedom that she didn't really have even up in the sun happy. It's freedom comes in different aspects.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
So she became the queen of the underworld and was granted the abilities. She wasn't a captive. She was able to do what she wanted to do. That's wow.
And I think that there's a lot of misinterpretations. That's how I see it. Where it's as somebody who's been in situations where you feel like you're in the dark, you're in the shadow, rise above. And, she did that. She became a judge. She became an equal to her husband. That's really unheard of. And also, she got to choose a lot of things. And now she's the high priestess. That's who we know her as.
Yeah.
What?
Well, what about just the really beautiful expression of just because it's the underworld or the juxtaposition to being in the sun, that there's still, it's not a good and evil.
Yeah, no, and I don't.
It's a dark and light, and there's
beautiful things grow in the dark.
Even just from the sense of night and day, there's value there, and it's not
completely
negative in like a bad sense or in some kind of an evil sense, but there can be
our
use
shadow
for
selves
it.
are really important, and I feel like
absolutely
we need to give it love too.
I'm just so obsessed already. I'm pulling cards out. Why am I pulling all the black background cards out? How did you decide what to do with a black background or a white background?
That honestly was either the story behind it. So Diana the Huntress, hunting at night in the moonlight.
Yes.
Medusa, how can you look at yourself and then coming to terms with who you are? And she actually is now like a symbol of protection for women, is Medusa.
Talk about working through some shadow stuff too. Yeah. And so you correspond her to 9 for Hermit, or
the Hermit, yeah.
I mean, how much were you really thinking about the classic representations when you pulled these?
I was thinking a lot, and I also was really adamant about including deities and other characters in the pantheon that weren't as well known, or that I feel like their stories weren't as in depth.
Mm-hmm.
And like how important that was. I feel like, because what also really inspired me is Neil Gaiman. I love Neil Gaiman.
Mm-hmm.
American Gods.
Totally.
Where he talks a lot about like being forgotten. And
is he an artist and a storyteller? I mean, he does.
I just know his writing, but I know Sandman the comic.
I know his graphic novels.
Yeah,
but I don't remember if he's the artist or if he's. You guys comment down below.
I don't think he's the artist, but just the writing behind it, and especially American Gods, is you have all these gods that are losing their power, and nobody wants to be forgotten.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like it was really important to include these deities because they don't want to be forgotten. We can learn so much from them.
Totally. I love this. I love this combo right here. Okay, so she was taken down, and then, well, she might have been treated really well. Her mother was not having it.
Her mother was not having it. There was famine, winter.
And that's because Demeter was in charge of bringing things to life and the harvest.
And her daughter was her
grieving.
Life. Yeah, her daughter was her life. Her daughter was her other half. And when you lose somebody that close to you, like losing a child, you go through grief. Mm-hmm. So that was her moment of grief.
And she basically let everything, like the crops all died, everything was, she wasn't breathing life into the natural world.
Yeah.
Her daughter was gone. She was distraught. And then at some point,
she was like, I need to find my daughter. So who does she ask for help? It was actually that card.
She asked Hecate?
Yeah, for help. And then she also, tries to reason with Zeus, like what's going on. And then finally Zeus is like, hey, Hades, you gotta bring her back.
Right. So they go together. And this is very much something that we see like in the Egyptian mythology. For instance, when we have Isis trying to resurrect her husband, and she goes and tries to get some help with that. So in her case, she went to Thoth, she went to Nephthys to find some kind of ally to assist in that resurrection process, or in this case, in bringing Persephone back to the above realm. So she goes to Hecate, she goes to Zeus, and is it Zeus that ends up striking a deal?
So the rule is that if you eat something given to you by your captor, you are therefore have to still be with them. So it was kind of another deception where she ate this fruit, but it was also like, okay, she ate 6 seeds. She's going to spend 6 months with me. She's going to spend 6 months with you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Was it a pomegranate?
It was a pomegranate. Yeah, 6 pomegranate seeds.
That's not very much of a pomegranate, really.
Yeah.
She just took a tiny bite.
And she's like, let's take a little bit.
They're so good. You did just such an amazing job, and I haven't seen any of the minors yet. Ooh, 8 of Swords, creepy and weird and awesome. I love it. So, there was an agreement struck. She would be down under the earth. She would be in the underworld for 6 months. She would come back up for 6 months, and like you were saying, that's where we got
our seasons. Yeah. And it's I'm a firm believer that time and just things in general are not linear.
Mm-hmm.
It's a constant circle, it's a constant cycle. So that's just another representation of the cycle. She is the cycle.
Totally, which is what being a magical practitioner is, having that understanding of the cyclical nature of all things. And I mean, we see that in all sorts of things.
Oh,
we
yeah.
see that
and
in
I've
the
learned
moon,
so much
earth,
from
and natural things that come and go. You were talking about just the need for periods of rest.
They're so necessary. They're extremely necessary. And a lot of people are like, Marisa, you're disappearing from the world. And it's like, well, the work I do, I have to recharge. I have to rest.
Okay, so for instance, when you are going in to create a deck, I mean, how hermity do you get?
I get super hermity. Like, weird hermity sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's just, I tell people in advance, just because it's like, look, like, I'm not going to be the best person right now because I'm so engulfed in my work.
So you've learned to actually give a little bit of a warning?
Yeah, to give a warning. Just because it's like, I mean, I don't want what I'm going through to affect the people around me in a negative aspect. But like, it's like my work is my passion, and right now,
very considerate.
I'm going to be
think of that.
very passionate. I think it's just because I've worked in the service industry for 10 years that like I feel like I have to be that transparent with other people. Plus, it makes my work experience a lot easier.
Mm-hmm. Do you work at night or?
I work
around
the clock, and I think I got that from my abuela because she was the same way too, where she would just with a Pall Mall in the corner of her mouth from like this point in time until 4 a.m. she would just be at her desk painting.
Wow.
Yeah, so she was very. I think I got that from her, except I don't smoke cigarettes.
I love that. So you just go in and you just work until...
I surround myself with like imagery and then also things that I've like researched just kind of like help me along the way. Self-care is so important. So I make sure that like I'm always eating, I'm always really well hydrated, and that I'm not, working myself to like death. Sleep is super important. If anything that I've reclaimed this year, it's my sleep.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so that's probably why people are like, oh, you're kind of like slow on like producing things, and it's like, I have to sleep.
I actually sleep now. Yeah, for my 30-day challenge, I basically didn't sleep. The first week that I was rolling those videos out, I was getting like 2 hours of sleep. As I was uploading, I would be like, okay, I can actually get a couple of hours of sleep now. And then be up to post, and then get another kind of 2 hours, but it was never consecutive. Time. And then somewhere around the second week, if anybody sat and watched the videos all the way through, they would be able to see my energy levels kind of went down at some point, and then I got that sense of I have to time manage and self-care and do all of that.
So I've been doing a lot of that. It's really helped me out a lot.
Well, it's a learning process, right?
It is. It really is. And that's the thing. That's why I took my time with this second run, is because I was like, I want this to be perfect. I need to do it right, and I need to take care of myself.
I love the way that you did these pentacles as actually little, like that being the tree, and then growing for like their little seeds that they're growing from, which I totally think of pentacles like seeds.
Yeah. Well, I'm a Taurus, and pentacles are like my thing, and I'm all about being grounded, and and that's another thing I do is I don't like wearing shoes. I'm wearing shoes right now, but I don't like wearing shoes.
Yeah.
I like being barefoot, and that's something that my grandfather would always yell at me about, was like, "Ay, mija, put on some socks," and I'm like, I can't cover my feet. Like, I need to be on the dirt. I need to have my feet on the ground. It feels so much better.
I'm with you. When I'm at work, I never ever have shoes on, because if I'm doing readings, if I'm doing healing, if I'm doing ceremony, I have to have that connection. When I teach classes, I never wear shoes. I have to have that groundedness. So I totally feel you on that.
Well, we have so many things that come from, the bottom of our feet.
I love this guy. What do you mean?
Like, I just feel like energy-wise. Like, I feel like for me, like, I have...
That comes from us, or that comes
both.
To us?
It's like sort of like a, like almost like a train. So that's really important for me.
Totally. I get it. So you're Taurus.
I'm a Taurus.
And it just feels like with you being a Taurus, and then Taurus is ruled by Venus, and then Venus would correspond to Demeter.
Yeah, totally.
So this is
very much.
This is definitely your realm.
Yeah.
And so when they brought Persephone back up, Demeter, as I understand, really went out of her way to make everything beautiful. She made all of the flowers bloom again, and she brought everything back to life.
Yeah.
And so that's that spring, that's that coming back.
Yes, totally.
So again, we see this in all kinds of stories. I mean, we see it in religion and resurrected gods. We see it, of course, in the Osiris myth, and we see it in a philosophical sense as a magical practitioner, for the fact that you do, in order to evolve yourself, in order to transmute yourself, you have to go down into the dark. You have to be willing to look at the shadow, to look at all your stuff, to rectify some of that, really or to embrace it, to figure out how to use it.
Yeah, I think it's really important to acknowledge that. We need to acknowledge, you know, the dark parts of us. Also, like, as somebody who has severe depression, like, acknowledging that in myself, and, you know, instead of, you know, being like, I want to fix this, it's like, I'm going to live with this. Mm-hmm. And, like, you know, learn to, like, because I can't just, you know, shove it away. I can't just, you know, be like, oh, go away with therapy. And it's like, no, this is, like, a part of me. And coming to terms to accept it. And I see a lot of that in the Persephone myth, where, you know, there are moments of loneliness, but at the same time, too, you're reclaiming yourself again.
Mm-hmm. When I feel that sense that depression is on me, I don't usually realize it until I'm a few days in.
Okay.
And when I just acknowledge, oh, I'm just depressed right now.
Yeah.
Like, why have I felt so weird? Why have I felt so sluggish, or just like not feeling it? And just knowing, like, oh, that's what it is. Yeah. That seems to at least remove one layer to, just like you're saying, acknowledge it and not try to be like, oh, I just have to act like everything's great. And
yeah, no.
We all have our ups and downs. Yeah. I think that, you know, everybody goes through their times, right? Yeah. I mean, some people are more sensitive than others.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking of how these would look when you laid them all out in the spread, and just how interesting it would be to see the different dark and light with the backgrounds. I just think that's such a great idea that you did that.
Oh, thank you.
And then the red, just as you said, just helps little details to pop out.
Nice coral red.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. With the ladder on the Six of Wands, you're brilliant. What a great idea that is. This is a card that I always am really drawn to, the Six of Wands. I think because anything that follows a 5, you know, when you're dealing with a 5, you're typically dealing with something that's a challenge. Okay. And so when you get to the 6, it's kind of like the acknowledgement and the reward of, like, you did it. You faced the challenge, you addressed it, and now when you do that, I always talk about the Six of Wands as leveling up. And so the fact that you would put a ladder on there and you make it out of 6 wands and then it has 4 steps, I feel like this card alone, and then going up to the star, I could sit and pick apart the symbolism for hours. Who's this?
It's like, you know, you have to look through everything, and sometimes so I equate that to being lost in a forest. So you can see between the trees, and sometimes you can't see between the trees. Mm-hmm. So that's what I equated it to.
Cool. So good.
Well, thank you.
You did this.
I did it.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah.
All right, so fire. Now, this is something, as residents of California, that we have been
it's bad.
Really going through. Everybody's affected, and some people have lost much more. People have lost their lives. People have lost their homes. And I know you shared that you've dealt with fires in your own life.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, I actually had a fire happen on my birthday.
Wow.
I know, I laugh. It's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I lost a lot of my stuff, and a lot of stuff that was given to me, especially by my grandparents. I lost art pieces. I lost all my clothing. And it sucked, but it taught me a lot about like what we value and what's important. And what was important was at the time my roommate had gone out and that the dog had gone out too. Those were the most important things that mattered. And I had to come to terms with that.
Yeah.
And especially with the fires that have been happening now, like California, we're supposed to have natural fires. Like that area that burned up in Southern California, that's a ring of fire. Like that's where, you know, basically prairie is, and it has to be cleared. But, you know, just with global warming and everything that's going on, fires can't be contained. And also our impact as humans in that environment, because that's an environment that was a whole ecosystem that we, you know, encroached on. It caused the fires to get even worse. And sadly, people lost their lives in their homes.
Yeah.
But I love fire just because while it destroys, it also creates. The soil is so much better after a fire.
And it illuminates.
Yeah.
I mean, it really, even in the sense of its destruction, as you're saying, it really brings to light what truly is important. And I just, you know, reading some of the things that people have been posting online about their gratitude, even in their loss for their life and the life of their loved ones, I feel is just really powerful and eye-opening. And I mean, it's still horrible and a tragedy, but I agree with you. I mean, there is that sense that this is the earth that we choose to build our houses or do these things. I mean, we also have fault lines that run through here.
California's one giant fault line.
Yeah. And so when things occur that are quote unquote natural disasters, they're a disaster to us, but to nature it's natural parts of cycles.
It is. It really is.
Now, can we talk about this card? Because I know I'm fascinated because you have the vessels here. And so here they're all kind of like pouring out of the one huge...
It's kind of like cup inception, where cups inside of cups.
So
it's like you're being blessed even more. It's like, oh, you thought you were just getting these vessels? Well, here's a giant vessel with more vessels coming out of it.
That's so good.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, it's like halfway between a Pip style deck and not a Pip style deck, because you're using the actual suit, but then not in the just sort of like Marseille style. There's a scene going on here, and there's like other ideas that you brought in. I think that for something that's very simple in the color, you've made it complex in a simple way. Does that make sense? I don't know how exactly to say that.
And the booklet helps too. So I put in a lot of information about myths for, you know, certain deities that aren't as well known, and also like myths behind, like, you know, just characters that are involved in Persephone's myth as well.
This is one I didn't know.
The star, she's the navigator. So she's in the sky. She's what helps sailors navigate.
Can we look her? Let's see what you had to say here. Orania. Oh, and you have all of the imagery is in here. She is the muse of astronomy. I love that. And she is the one who looks to the heavens. Like when man went to space, she sees the vastness of the galaxy, and it's awe-inspiring. Her domain is expansive and ever-growing. Man has always looked to her for hope and answers. And she has the eye of illumination up above her head there. And then you also have a reverse. It's hard to be the guardian of this realm. Yes, she is a dreamer, but even she has doubts. She lacks the confidence she once had. She is an astronaut with no helmet, a ship with no compass, a muse with no meaning. That's so interesting that you say that. I love when I'm just meeting you, and then just to think of these kind of crossover ideas, because I oftentimes will have that same idea with the reversed star, that your compass is broken. And you're basically having to rely on your own internal GPS system, because the map got wet, the compass doesn't work, or there's clouds in the sky, and it doesn't mean you can't still travel.
Yeah.
But you're gonna have to
be more resourceful. Yeah.
Wow. And maybe not proceed with as much confidence. But I believe that in all of the reversals, there's definitely its own teaching and its own thing to be gained. And if everything was always reversed, it's like we're only seeing half the story.
Totally.
Do you see because you did include the reversals, do you see any correlation between the reversals and the descent of Persephone?
I do for some of them. There are some cards like the Eight of Cups that's really tied to her, and it's tied to. It's actually I think the one myth that I could find where Persephone lost her cool and was not cool, and she turned a nymph who was kind of catching It was the only time that Hades' eye ever strayed.
Oh.
And she was like, "I'm gonna turn you into mint." Because that was her name, Mint. So that's why we have the plant mint.
Wow.
But I felt like the reversal was so important for that because I mean it's traumatic to be turned into a plant.
Yeah.
But what do? You become a plant that's super strong because mint can grow anywhere and mint grows super fast. And it just it smells great.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's interesting how in the Greek myths, people were always being turned into other things. Turned into plants or animals or stars in the sky. Or like, we're going to make you this now. And
But like a lot of it, the reversals for those cards is these deities and these people have to come to terms with either the punishment or with the circumstances that they're in. And a lot of them, they rise. Or a lot of them, they learn to love themselves. They learn to live with this. Like Arachne, she was this weaver, and then she was turned into a spider. But you know what a spider is? The best weaver.
Yeah.
Sorry, don't tell anyone that. But yeah.
I have a little spider that's been living in my bathroom for a couple of months now.
I love spiders.
And just sort of moves around from one area to the other.
I love spiders.
Oh, you're there now? Cool. Hi.
Yeah.
This is so awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Did you have some other things that you wanted to share as well? Because you have some other projects.
I'm working on a lot of projects. I'm going to be taking a break from production in the later part of winter and spring to focus on a new tarot deck that I'm working on. It's in the same painting style of Circo Tarot and just as colorful, but it's more tied to my Mexican and my indigenous roots, which are really important to me. And I feel like I've been getting a lot of calls, especially in my sleep, literally being shaken at night.
Wow.
So it's like I need to get this out now, and I'm really excited about it. And I feel like it's the sort of the new direction that I'm going in. And then there's just some awesome things that are going to be happening. I can't say all of them because I'm like, but
and then what else? What do you have still available? Because you also have your oracle deck, right?
So I have my oracle decks. I also have textiles. So I'm going to be making a lot of like handkerchiefs that are hand printed by me that, have, just love and magic put into them. And also like, particularly like they're meant for tarot readings. So they have different spreads printed on them.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, and I'm going to be doing that at One Down Dog on December 2nd. I'm going to be selling those. And then also online for the holidays. And textiles, wall hangings. I love making those.
Yeah, I remember seeing those on your website.
Yeah.
Very, very cool.
And a lot of the tools that I work with were tools that were left to me by my abuela. So it's a lot of wool from Mexico, a lot of beads from Mexico as well. Wow. I try to repurpose all the materials that I use with my textile work. So, yeah.
That's so cool. I love it.
Yeah, but everything else, I have to be tight-lipped about it. And
Over-promise. Wait, no. How does the saying go? Under-promise, over-deliver? Something like that.
Yeah.
Keeping it tight-lipped. That's being the high priestess. That's Persephone.
I had to learn that recently because a friend of mine was like, you got to stop letting it all out at once. And I'm like, I can't help it. Like, it's just like, I'm excited about it. But she's like, no, you got to. And I'm like, yeah, you're right.
There's a time. There's a time for everything. Like, I think about that when I did my series. And I had to just say, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
I'm going to commit to this 30-day thing, and I have to say it, because if I don't, then I'm not going to be held accountable. But then I didn't make any promises yet about what's going to come next. And I definitely want to be able to offer things like this, where I can bring some lovely people on to introduce to my audience. But you guys are just going to have to wait and see, I guess, what both of us are going to do next.
Yeah, well, 2019 is coming upon us. A lot of changes, a lot of shifts. And I don't know, I think I'm kind of going through like my Persephone, where it's like, okay, time to go to the Underworld and do my work. I'm moving to Kansas City during the winter time, so that will be my Underworld.
Is that a very snowy, wintry kind of place?
It is, but it's so beautiful and quiet and dark, and I kind of like that. I feel like the best of my work comes through moments of isolation and being, you know.
As an artist, totally. And as a magician, definitely. Winter is such the time to just hibernate and go within and work on things and then see what you can bring to light after a couple of months of really a deep dive.
No, I'm super stoked. I'm really excited to show what's going to happen in 2019.
How soon are you moving?
I'm moving February is what I'm aiming for, January, February. It kind of depends on how things go. But yeah, I'm excited.
Cool. Yeah. And then coming up, we have the winter solstice. So that will be the 3rd week of December. So something for you guys to be thinking about if you want to really get yourself in alignment with the winter and what it is that you can use that time for and really extract the most out of it. Then you can do a ritual around the solstice to really get yourself balanced and focused at that time. Well, is there anything else? I'm going to make sure, and of course all of her info will be linked down below.
I mean, I'm just going to be selling mostly textiles and other tarot goods. So,
amazing. Well, this is a time of year, if you guys are buying gifts, to definitely support artists, support small business, and also just think about things that are really unique, things like your textiles, which are totally one of a kind.
Yeah, they're all hand-dyed, hand-printed. I try not to make things that are the same.
Yeah.
As frustrating that probably is for my actual working process, I'm all about personalizing things.
Yeah.
So.
Very special.
Yeah.
Well, Marisa, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I really appreciate this, and I wanted to
And thank you so much for the Persephone Tarot.
Yay.
What a special, special thing. And thanks to you guys for watching. Of course, if you loved this video, leave us a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.